Witam Państwa serdecznie, Błażej Hrabkowicz, EnergaCAMERIMAGE w Toruniu. Our guest is director Denis Villeneuve. Hello. While I was watching Dune, the words that came to my mind were minimalistic opera, because you created a very monumental film, but I think with very subtle measures, sometimes minimalistic measures. And I wanted to ask you if that is something that was in your mind, or maybe you wanted to create it that way.
Yeah, there's something, a feeling of a Spartan feeling in the set design, and I think it came from the desire to create a kind of a melancholic isolation, a feeling of that the characters are isolated. They are like oppressed by the force of nature, and the buildings or the species they do create are in response to the force of nature. And I wanted really to feel the vulnerability of human beings in their environment, to bring them back at their right place in the ecosystem. We like to see the humans we like to see humans with the capability of dominate the elements, but I wanted them to be part of it and vulnerable inside it. So I think that all the design of the movie has been influenced by that. And Dune is about the triumph of the human spirit, the book, and this will to strip the sets and it was more really to try to focus on the humanity of the character and to have that beautiful melancholy. Yeah. I
think this really is in tune with what's happening in the sort of humanistic thought around the world, that you have this idea of people no longer being the king of all creation, but to sort of be in touch with nature. But they are also oppressed, of course, by the politics, and I think these all layers of Frank Herbert's book you really tried to establish in the first part of the story, the political, the philosophical, and the religious ones. How important was it to you that you established that in the first film?
It was the idea was to try to be as close to the book as possible, to the main ideas, its poetry, its atmosphere, but I wanted all those topics, those elements to be a part of in the DNA. I didn't want it to be too much upfront or it was a long process in the adaptation, doing the screenplay, to try to find the right balance where the audience will not be crushed by a massive exposition, but try more to bring it as subtly as possible into the structure of the movie.
So the story is not bogged down by all this.
Yeah, exactly.
Ideas. One of the main and most interesting conflicts in Dune, the story for me, is the conflict between sort of bigger ideas, politics and so on, and personal feelings, family. It is very much visible in the character played by Rebecca Ferguson and the Gom Jabbar scene. So was that part of the book also really important to you?
Yeah, the thing is that when we started the adaptation, I asked the screenwriter to focus on the female characters, and most importantly on Lady Jessica, to make sure that she would be upfront. And as, of course, we are focusing on Paul, the main protagonist, I wanted his main relationship in the movie to be with his mother, as in the book, but to really strip that from all other influence, to really focus on their relationship and to structure the movie according to this relationship between the boy and his mother, and that became the main arc of Paul. And by doing so, some characters become more in the background, but that was the way I was forcing the potential adaptation of this movie, was to make that intimate focus between the mother and son.
What I also found interesting about the film is also that you marry this big scope with very intimate level, and I think it's very in touch with what Paul Atreides, what character Paul Atreides is, because he of course has this arc of maybe fulfilling his destiny and being a leader, but at the core of it, he's a young boy who's maturing and maybe coming to terms with reality.
Yeah, that was the focus, and at the end of the day, it's a movie that is very internal. We are following a young boy, and we are witnessing this transformation of his psyche as he's going deeper and deeper into a landscape, into a new planet. And the more we receive the impact of the new culture in this landscape, and we are following him through that journey. So it's a very intimate and in a way internal movie that has to deal with scope around, but that's in a way it's not important. It's I really try to be as close to Paul's experience as possible.
Just to finish up, one last sort of words of admiration, the scene where the sandworm appears. It really gave me chills, and I think science fiction is there also to inspire awe, so we can gasp with awe when we see the images, and that scene. I think that was, I suppose that was important for you, that we feel that as an audience.
But it's like we tried to recreate one of the, as I said, one of the main idea was to have the camera just above Paul's shoulder and to follow him through his journey, so the audience will feel that impact of his journey as Paul does, and when you embrace that kind of approach, then of course those elements you hope they will have an impact on the audience, like the worm, as you rightly said. Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.